G'day guys, Travis here, Perth Diesel Performance. This video, if you own a 200 series, you want to stay tuned. It's what I check on my 200 series before I hit the tracks with my family. If you're going away this holiday season, stay tuned and let's check this out together. Okay, so under bonnet, one of the first things I'm going to check on the 200 series is the main battery, and that's the one on the passenger side. If you've got two batteries from factory, they are paralleled, and if you've upgraded and you've got a main battery and a secondary battery, once again, passenger side, that's how it's set up as a main battery, the cranking battery. You want to make sure that guy is in optimum health and it is charged up. Once again, terminals are nice and tight, clean, all the connections are good, and the battery's secure, and it isn't a very old battery, because if you're heading away, once again, to get a battery replacement, you're going to get what you get at a servo and you're going to pay a premium. So charge the battery up, leave home with a battery fully charged. Don't just go with the attitude of, oh, the alternator is going to charge it up. Leave home with a fully charged battery so the alternator doesn't have to, you don't have to drive for 24 hours to charge a flat battery, and it's an automatic. You are not going to push start this vehicle, and they are hungry on power with all the electronics on them. So main battery, tick, check that off. Now, second, moving on from that, you'll see this trim. I've got it really easy, so it's removable. I've got the BCDC charger here with our dual battery kit. That is charging the second battery. I have got the Invicta, the Max battery in here. That's been a great unit. Now, depending on what battery you've got, charging profile, check that it's charging. The alternator is charging the main battery. The BCDC is charging the secondary battery, and your battery link is also working. So hit that inside, make sure the solenoid's clicking in. So if you do have a flat main battery, you can jump start the vehicle with ease, and away you go. Once again, auxiliary battery, check the terminals, it's mounted good. All your fuse holders, connections, everything's nice, neat and tidy. All your zip ties all along here, cable connections, BCDC, all your earths are good. Remember, the earths generally get overlooked. Look in the engine bay, engine earths, make sure they're clean and tight. There's no corrosion anywhere. If you see corrosion, take the terminal off, clean it and refit it. Second on my list, or next go-to, clean fuel. You've got the factory fuel filter, and as well we've got the secondary fuel filter. Now, depending on micron rating and what you're running, one thing you want to check, I've got it over here on the driver's side. Now, this kit here does run the fuel hose along the back of the firewall. You want to make sure all the hose is in good condition. The fuel filter is clean, tidy, there's no water contamination. Replace the factory fuel filter, or at least check it, drain the water set bowl, check the debris in it. The factory fuel filter, you can't see any debris in it. You need to undo the Allen keys, take the fuel filter out, clean the bowl out, and also change the filters while you're there. They're not expensive, it's cheap insurance. You know you're going away, you don't want the family in the car, and the fuel light comes on the dash, and you've got contaminated fuel. So check your fuel system, good battery, clean fuel, good filters. You're halfway there. Now, air filtration, the best thing that's come out on a 200 series has been the release of the Donaldson Airbox. It's been a great fix, and it definitely ticks a box. The filtration media is, or would have to be, not just in my opinion, just by going on reviews and feedback from customers, and I'm talking thousands, if not millions of kilometres on vehicles on the road now. This filter works amazing. This is a used filter. This is the Donaldson Airbox in here, and also I've connected that with the Safari snorkel. I also couple that with the pre-filter externally. Now, if you're only running a Donaldson Airbox and you're not running a snorkel, one thing I would like you to check is this guy. Mice or any rodents, let's just call them rodents, in here, what is common is, as this is connected in the guard, the other side here, is they eat the underbonnet lining or under wheel arch lining, and in here, and you get a big ball of fluff and dirt, and it actually gets in the airbox and it causes restriction. It's something we've seen before in customers' cars. Believe it or not, this is the ducting that's mounted inside the wheel arch. As you can see, it's that long. It's sucking all the air down low, right above the wheel. So you're stirring all that dust up, you're under load, turbos are sucking air. That's where it's getting its fresh air from, down here. With the snorkel, raised air intake, that's what I go for, that's what I recommend. It's up to you, see how it works, but check this guy out. It's a quick little mod to to make sure you're getting maximum airflow to your airbox or whatever air filter you're running. Now, if you're not running a Donaldson airbox, any air filter, check it, tap it out, replace it if you need to. Check the duct that runs from the airbox down to the engine, look in it, and also the airflow meter. It's mounted here on the Donaldson, however, on the factory one, obviously it's up higher, 2 little screws. You can clean that sensor as well. That is measuring all the airflow, and the engine is calculating that, and obviously all the derived engine ECU calculations are off airflow. So if that's not reading right, the engine's not going to be producing optimum fuel economy and power for you as the end user. And last of all, we've all seen what dust can do to an engine. If you haven't, we've got a whole nother video on the Donaldson airbox and what an unlucky customer did have happen to their 200 series. So if you want to see more about that, check that out. Intercoolers and airflow. Now you'll see, obviously I'm running the PWR, the upgraded intercooler. It has got billet tanks on it. Now the factory intercooler, it does work pretty good. Every factory item has its service life, or so to say, its optimum performance limit as well. This is the PWR, it's got billet tanks. The extrusion is the F1 or the high-end core design, so it's got really great cooling capacity and optimum flow. Couple of checks, what you want to look at is the core. Make sure it's clean, no debris, and also a note, don't hit the intercooler core with a pressure cleaner. You will bend the little tabs. You want to make sure that all the fins are optimum. They're all standing upright, they're not bent over. If they are, you can sit there. A little trick is with a zip tie and poke them all and get them standing upright. However, if someone's hit it with a pressure cleaner, it's done and it's time to upgrade the intercooler, because if you bent them all, that's a month of Sundays sorting that out. Now, the intercooler as well, this is upgraded with fans. The reason we've got that is airflow. It's all designed to come through this duct that then goes onto the factory trimming here. And guess what? You've got spotlights, bull bar. You've got reduced airflow already. So when you start doing all the low speed stuff, the off-roading, full driving, dusty roads, hot ambient temperatures, under bonnet temperatures on these things. I don't know if you've ever popped the bonnet after driving this car for a while in a hot ambient conditions. It gets roasting under here. Do it and you'll see how hot it is. Heat soak on this intercooler. Once the charge air temps start coming up, the engine output starts derating. So the fans, cool, charge air temps, optimum engine performance. And like I mentioned with the intercoolers, all the air ducting, all the airflow comes through these little ducts here. These seals here seal around here. So if you've got holes cut out in here, got air going here and you've got a BCDC, any holes here cut in, you're losing the airflow, you're losing the flow up the ductwork to the intercooler. Enough of that, but while we're pulling this out, the other one I want to show you, which is very important and also round for running hot, is the transmission on a 200 series. This guy right here, that's a transmission cooler. You'll see it's got a little ducting around it, and guess what? There's normally a bull bar, the post is here, the spotlight's there, and if you're monitoring your trans temps, you're going to see that it actually gets pretty hot. So if you're not running any optimum like torque lockup kits, or you're not monitoring it with a scan gauge, that's what I'd highly recommend, at least knowing what the transmission's doing and how much you're working the vehicle and where the sweet spot is when you're asking too much from that transmission for too long, and obviously that's when damage can happen. So keep an eye on that. Spotlights, when was the last time you turned them on? Check the fuses, relays, or whatever's controlling them. Make sure they work. The relay isn't corroded, the earth's good, the spotlights are adjusted too. If you haven't used them in a long time and you get out on the country road, have you actually adjusted them, or have they been bent, they're loose? Once again, same thing, bull bar, check nuts, bolts. Also, recovery points as well. If you don't have one, you're going on a big trip, highly recommend having a rated recovery point. Now, check the bull bar bolts as well, fog lights, all your indicators, check all that sort of stuff. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Now, winch, if you've got a winch fitted at the front here as well, check that, unspool it, have a look at the dyneema, the wire, just inspect it, because they're often things that people don't use very often. If you do, great, you know it works. If it doesn't, haven't used it in 12 months, check it works, put it under load. Don't just zap the controller and go, oh, you know, it works, and you get in a pickle and you hit it, you put some load under it, and bzz, you're in a real pickle because you're on your own and it doesn't work. Okay, cooling system, Toyota cooling systems, they are rock solid. However, it pays to check them out. Make sure the coolant is at the right level and it's good quality. Now, Toyota, one thing with these V8s, the water pumps on them, like I've said before, on the 70 series video, they are a bit of a weak point. And the S-belt, check that out, tensioners and pulleys, because without that fan belt or the S-belt on there, no alternator, no water pump, it definitely is the weak point. Now, check the fan blades as well, if you've done any water crossings, viscous, all that sort of stuff, if you've done high Ks. When I talk about the radiator as well, inspect the top tanks, they're plastic. Look down the gap between the radiator and the condenser. All along the front in here, check with a light. Turn your air conditioning system on as well. Make sure your front condenser fan's working. All your wiring, everything is neat and tidy. And your cooling system, because usually when you go away, you're going to be driving, or West Coast, you're going to be driving along, up into hotter climates, and you're going to be pushing the car outside of its normal operating day-to-day running. So make sure it's good to go. Hoses, check all the conditions of them. Duct work as well. One thing we see on the air duct, make sure your connections are nice, tight and clean. Intercooler piping, all those sorts of things. Oil residue around the intercooler, if you see that, you possibly could also have a boost leak. Check all that, clean that out. Now, talking of boost, and on the back of the intercooler, the common one that we see a lot of guys get caught out with is the map sensor comes off. The rubber hose comes off the map sensor, or the little filter, or the filter's cracked. So that's one where I'd say remove the intercooler. It's just at the back, and obviously put a little bit of silicone hose on it. And if you need to, there is an upgraded filter you can get for these guys if you've got a lot of boost running through your vehicle. That one there, when that hose drops off, the engine doesn't know that the turbos are pumping air in there. It goes into reduction mode. It affects the gearbox. You're only going into fourth gear. And if you're towing a long haul all the way home, it's pretty gutless and it's not great. The car is going to run a lot harder because it's going to have to work a lot harder to pull the same amount of load to get you home. So check it out. You're feeling in there, or there's a lot of wiring in there, and excess weight. Sometimes it pops the hose off, and you may have had that before. Check it out, and it's better be safe than sorry. Okay, so rims, tyres, wheels, UCAs, wheel bearings, steering, all of the above. First of all, check the condition of the tyres. How old are the tyres? Are they in service? If you're not going off-road much and the tyres are okay, but they're really old, check the sidewalls, get them rebalanced. Check the valves are in good condition if you're going to deflate and reflate, inflate. Spare valves inserts as well. You never know when you're off-road if you have a problem with them. Low-cost item, but it'll get you out of a pickle as well. Now, lock nut keys. Is it in the car? Have you got wheel brace, jack, all of the appropriate equipment to take this guy off? Same thing with the spare tyre. When was the last time you checked that? Now, if you're taking the wheels off, do you need to rotate them? Wheel alignment, book all that stuff in, get it done. Now the UCAs as well, the upper control arms, that's what UCA stands for. They are greasable. Pop the top cap off, grease them. Now, if you're pumping the ball joint on the top, if you're putting grease in it and it's rock solid, you need to bounce the car, get the joint to move, because otherwise if you just keep pumping and hydraulic, you're just going to pop the grease nipple out. Sometimes you got to put the grease in, you think, oh, it's got enough grease in it. It actually isn't. It's just where the joint's resting in there. The grease can't displace anywhere. Bounce the car and you'll get a bit of grease in there, and the joint it'll free it up, and 3 pumps is usually enough. Don't over grease it. Little O-ring seal on the top. If it's Black Hawks or other brands, I usually put a little bit of grease around that just to try and get the moisture out of it. All your steering knuckles, wheel alignments. Now the steering stops as well, put grease on them. These guys at full lock, when you go up a curb or up a rock or something off-road and you're at full lock, they do squeak and graunch. Some people think it's something wrong with the suspension. It's just the person that's been servicing it. The steering stops are bone dry and they make a noise when it's metal to metal. Another quick, simple little one, inner wheel arches, all the trim clips, are they in place and are they going to stay there? If you pick up something in the wheel off-road, it's not going to rip out the wheel arch. You've got something hanging off or flapping around. A lot of people, when you pull up with the plastics, they go back into shape, and under 80 k's an hour, they all flex and come away, and that's because they've got a bull bar on, they're not secured. Make sure all your plastic trims, generally in the front wheel arches, because the rears, you don't adjust them or cut them, it's all the fronts. And your mud flaps, if you upgraded the tyres, check the suspension clears at full compression and droop. It's mainly compression. You want to make sure you don't have any impact issues. Now on that as well, Bull bar gapping. If you had a bull bar fitted, you can't go too close to these headlights. What happens is these do move, chassis mounted, body mounted, and it cracks the headlights. So clearances on things like that, the whole car moves off-road. Just check them as well. These cars, they go up sand dunes pretty quick and they come down pretty hard. I'll confirm that. All right, spare wheel. As you can see, rubbish bag and extra pockets. Great with the 200 series. Don't need to keep the rubbish in the car. Yes, I've got the wheel carrier on the back, and that's because I've got the big long range tank underneath. Now, a bit more about the long range. When we put it in the air, I'll show you a few little things to check out. Tow ready. Are you tow ready? Have you got the right hitch, right ball? Whatever you're towing, are you picking up a new van? Is the Anderson plug? Have you got the right 7-pin round, flat, 12-pin, the ESP? Have you got the right amount of power for what you're going to tow? When was the last time you checked the Anderson plug and it actually works? Also, back the car up to what you're going to tow, plug it in, check all the lights, check it's charging the battery, the fridge is getting cold, all of the above, the breakaway battery, anything like that. Check it out before you need to connect and go and then trying to do repairs. Now, when it comes to hitches, one thing I'll say as well, I'm going to replace this one. This isn't a solid hitch. Yeah, you can talk about weight. However, off-road, as you can see, this guy here moves around a fair bit. They do wear out. They do get pushed and pulled. It is off-road. This tongue is due to be replaced. So I've just reminded myself, I'm going to replace that before this Christmas break. Change shackles. Are they rated? Are they appropriate? Wheel carrier as well. We'll open that and we'll show you in the back of the car. Rear lights, all that sort of stuff. Have you got it all ready to go away? Now towing, some guys run the stone stompers and all that sort of stuff. One thing, a 200 series, tempered glass back window. One rock comes back up here, shattered. This guy here is not easy to find when you're traveling. The best thing is a roll of black gaffer tape. I've seen it before because the dust that comes into the back of a 200 series in standard with a tailgate that should seal is horrendous. Now imagine having no window, it's ridiculous. So one thing, it isn't on here at the moment, I've just cleaned the car, is Rhino Hide do a polycarbonate screen. It all clips on here and that's what I use. I don't run the stone stomper stuff. It's just another thing, extra weight, lower to the ground. I prefer to have more clearance and not worry about that. I just put the polycarb on there and away I go. All right, let's have a look in the back. I've got the full drawer system in here, fridge, travel buddy. Try and keep it neat and tidy. One thing I noticed in the back of this car, like I mentioned dust, is, and I mentioned a trailer plug as well, in the rear quarter panel down here is where the factory tow harness comes through. I'll try and show you under the vehicle, a snippet of it is sometimes that grommet can dislodge, or people working on the car gets dislodged. And also the vents, they do let a fair bit of dust inside the back of the car. So when you're working in here, you'll see dust. I do have a blower with me as well. If you're super dusty conditions, can obviously blow the back, all the dust off before you open, depending where you are and where you're going, of course. And now talking about storage and everything stowed away, try and take minimalistic, don't take more than what you need. When I come back, my biggest tip I do is I actually unpack the car. Stuff I've used, stuff I don't, take a note of it. If it happens a couple of times, it never comes back in the car because you don't need it and you're taking extra stuff, you're not going to use it. All you're doing is lugging it around for extra work and you're losing storage space. So pack only what you need and what is going to get you there and back home, like so necessities. Now, fridge, tables, I've got fridge and table all on here. I don't have an extra table, it's more weight. I don't have a cargo shelf, I've just got the cargo barrier. It's not a rated one, it's just enough to stop extra things going forward. Once again, the rated cargo barriers, they're heavier, they go all the way to the floor. I don't need that. I only put light things up here. All your 12-volt system, compressor. I have got a water tank. Once again, if you've got a water tank, pull the hose out, plug it in, check all the fittings, check the water tank, fill it up, treat the tank, drive it around, flush it out, pump it out, do the trigger, pulse the pump, check for water leaks, drain it, refill it, and you're ready to go. Now that's the water tank done. The fridge, chill it down, use it before you go and go away. There's nothing worse than turning the fridge on. Oh, it's not getting cold. Make sure it's good to go, and also it's cold when you put your stuff in it. Now, as I walk over this side, power, 12 volt lighting, got the strip light up here. All my storage in the wings is just generally my stuff I don't need to access in a hurry. And I obviously run the front runner. I run the boxes in here so I can pull the box out, and also I can stack them, I can stand on them, they act as another table. And then my little go-tos and stuff like that, all my camping stuff is in here. Quick access stuff is here. Pretty minimalistic, 3 swags, 3 kids, easy a week in the car. Got plenty of fuel, plenty of water. Simple, stupid, it's easy, it's tow ready. What do you do with your 200 series? This is my favorite car. People ask me 300 series, you know, when you're selling the 200, I'll be honest, if you're watching this, you got a 200, this is still my favorite car. Hand sanitizer, don't need water, just a quick little wipe off, hand sanitizer. And also, have you actually ever used this stuff, if it's fire season, a little bit of this, it actually ignites really well. So you can start damp leaves and wood quite easily. It's actually quite flammable. Now, also in the car, little brush at the back, and I'll have another banister brush, whatever I forgot, if I take the tent. So brushing out sand, dustpan, as well as the blower. That's another little housekeeping one. Like I mentioned, blow the dust off. It's also great for the fires, cooking on the coals and all that sort of stuff. However, it is summer, the hot season at the moment, so it's a fire ban. Now going back to safety and all those things, first aid kit. Do you have one in your car? Highly recommend it, be ready for it. A lot of people put it in their glove box. I actually found a spot on the, like I mentioned, I've got the cargo barrier there. Above the back seat and between the headrest, it sits right there. It's in my rear vision mirror, so anytime I look up there, I can see it's there, I know it's there. Glove box, usually got other things in it. Having a first aid kit in the car, can't recommend it enough. But also, when was the last time you checked it? Dates, band-aids, all those sorts of things. Now, when it comes to fire extinguishers, obviously a fire extinguisher is good. Now, if you haven't seen it, a fire stick, that is something that I need to invest in. I'm looking at getting one. Those things are impressive, and how long they can run for and how well they work. But the best thing is, if you let a fire extinguisher off in this car, and if you've watched and how much powder comes out of them, the mess it's going to make, those fire sticks, they're amazing. There's no trace, and it will put the fire out, and they perform much better. So if you haven't looked at one, check them out. I haven't got one. I'm not endorsing them. I just think they're a great bit of gear, and it's a safety item, so it's something I need to invest in. I'd urge you to as well. Okay, camp lights. I mentioned before, I just run one strip light along here. I don't have rock nines, all that sort of stuff. It has got the buttons on here. I've got the red light, so I don't fill the car up with bugs at night. I turn the interior lights off. I then have the kids, they just run around with the headlights. I also look for the ones that have the red light in them, because I know how well the red works with the bugs. It just puts them to sleep. Now the white, if you don't have bugs and you want the extra light, you can, and also dimmable. Now let's get back to it. The lock nut, I mentioned it earlier. I keep it all in here. I talked about a bigger wheel brace. I've got all the sockets. Now I've got the Kmart on the back, and I do need the larger nuts and sockets to take off the holding bracket for that as well. I've got some adapters, shackles, Max Tracks straps. As you can see, they haven't been used. It is fun digging them out when you get on the gas and send it. All right, while we're mentioning recovery gear, my recovery gear lives here. The reason is I set all the gear in the car, it's all packed neat and tidy. The back seat is usually got all the kids and whatever else. This guy, I've just got it strapped down on the roof rack. It's got all my multiple ropes, soft shackles, everything I need, winch ring, the whole lot. It's in here. I can unstrap it, chuck it straight on the floor. I don't have to, I've been caught out before where the car is in between sand dunes and you can't open a door, or I've had to back down on something and realised I can't open the tailgate. As you can see, I've got a cargo mesh there. You can't get in the back of the car either. So up here is the best spot for me. It's worked, it never failed me. Roof rack, I've got rod holders, I've got I've got 4 Max Tracks Extremes as well. I've upgraded from the MK2s because they get the metal lugs. They last. Like I said, with a 200 series, if you can't get on the boards, these cars just go lower and lower and you just drop on the chassis and you're done as a dinner. And it's usually on the beach. Solar panels, that's charging the battery, running my fridge, looking after the auxiliary battery. All right, inside the vehicle, up front, straight away as well, servicing the vehicle. When is it due for a service? Logbook, see what it's due. If you're going towing extreme conditions, when was the last time you serviced the automatic transmission? It's something that usually gets overlooked. I highly recommend minimum every 80,000 Ks. Now, if you're towing, I would really halve that and bring it to 40,000 Ks. And if you're permanently on the road and doing a big trip, I'd bring it down to 20,000 Ks. The cost of that oil versus damaging the transmission, and if you're running it hot and in extreme conditions, read the owner's manual. It says stop, start driving, high ambient temperatures, long drives, short drives. Pretty much any sort of driving is extreme driving. Find normal driving in there. I couldn't find it. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Now that's servicing. Check it out. I will show you a few tips and what to look for under the vehicle as well with the oil filter and how to do all that. Now, monitoring those temperatures. I've got the Scan Gauge 2 here. Also, there's the 3. I already had the 2 in the car with a little molding, so I put the 3 in the 300. I thought it was a bit more fitting. No, pun intended. Now, Scan Gauge, transmission temperatures, coolant temperatures, battery voltages, and EGTs. They're all the things I monitor on that one. Navigation, I've got the Garmin here as well, right at my fingertips. Phone holder here. I've got the Invicta app on there as well. So now I can monitor what the secondary battery is getting charged at, amps, temperature. I can check the solar when I plug the solar in as well. So I can see how much solar I'm pulled up at camp. Easy by my phone. And also, I don't even need to pop the bonnet. And if the main battery goes flat, I can hit the jump start function, the override function in the battery for the reserve capacity for the Invicta, which I've never had a battery that I can do that from an app, let alone the battery from pushing a button, and I can jump start the car should the main battery be flat. Now, interior, comms, UHF. When was the last time you checked it and did a radio check with a mate, check the lead, the connector, everything's working, it's all secure, and you're good to go, all your comms, because comms and navigation, it's one of those things. Maybe some guys have got, cell fire, and they've got, there's a lot of different ways you can navigate and communicate now. So just check it out, plan your trip, all your permits, check your bookings, ring up and confirm them, print them out, take them with you, put them in the glove box, map out where you're going, check your fuel destination as well, where you're refueling, and when they open and close, because there's no point rolling into town and all the servos are shut, because guess what? That's where you camp in the night. So you might be rolling up in the dark and camping in the dark. I know that feeling all too well. I'm used to it, but you and the family might not be. Couple other little interior mods as well. Floor mats, if you're traveling to somewhere that's super sandy, good quality floor mats and seat covers. Couldn't recommend them enough if you're traveling with the kids. And once again, I mentioned the brush your feet off, but some of that sand just doesn't come off. A tip with that one, it's not about servicing your 200, but however, talcum powder, put that on your legs and then just rub it, and it just dries out the skin. The sand falls off. It's a little tip I learned from Ronnie actually, jumping in a rooftop tent so you don't get sand in your sleeping bag. Little tips, if you like things locked up, make sure you find all the little keys to the things you locked up, like Max Tracks, spare wheels. Now, if they're external as well, when was the last time you used them? Maybe a bit of WD-40 CRC, because there's nothing worse than have a padlock on your Max Tracks, bogged on the beach, don't have the key, or you put it in there and the padlock won't come undone. So they're not the keys to my Max Tracks, but anyway, little tip there. A little bit of Johnson & Johnson. You're going to be looking at me funny, what's that for? I mentioned a brush at the back of the car, and you brush the sand off your legs on the beach, stops sand coming in the car, but sometimes that sand is like a magnet and it doesn't want to come off your skin. This stuff here just sprinkle on your legs, give it a rub, the sand falls off. I learned that from Ronnie. He learned it from someone else, so I thought, better yet, I'll pass it on to you. I mentioned the winch controller at the front. Check the battery. I've been caught out. Locate it, know where it is. And also the manual, the plug-in one, check it. It's usually, I store it in the back of the vehicle as well, in one of the side pockets, because I really like it when this guy works, but if it doesn't, I use the manual one. Okay, so I mentioned pre-cleaners. Why I'm for pre-cleaners means you don't have to pop the bonnet. You can see the debris on the uni filter before it even gets into the snorkel down to the air filter. And one of these guys is easy to check, and it's a lot more cost effective than replacing an air filter. All right guys, just like that, 200 series pre-trip check done. Until next time, I'll see you on the tracks. See you in the next video.